Thank you. Welcome to what's going to be a joyous day. Laura and I are thrilled you're here. I don't know if you've heard from Margaret yet, the CEO of the Bush Center. We're delighted she is here to welcome you all as well. I want to thank Charity Wallace, the very capable, able director of the Women's Initiative here at the Bush Center. I welcome leaders from SMU. Paul Ludden's here, other students of SMU, members of the community. I particularly want to welcome our supporters, men and women who care deeply about advancing women's freedom in the Middle East, and we thank you for your support. We are honored that the Women's Initiative Fellows of the class of 2013 and 2014 have joined us. We thank you for your courage. We thank you for your vision. I want you to know you have a partner, along with mentors, some of whom are here, to help facilitate peace. Here's what I believe, that freedom is universal. Deep in everybody's soul is the desire to be free. I also know that free societies yield peace. I'm also aware that free societies take time to develop. Old habits are hard to discard, and there has to be a patient application of leadership and the development of civil society. And I firmly believe that women will lead the movement, and therefore we at the Bush Center are acting upon these beliefs. I look forward to greeting you a little later on. I'm looking forward to following your progress as leaders in the communities in which you live. And once again, I thank you for your willingness to be a leader, to do hard things necessary to improve the lives of the people in the countries in which you live, which in turn improves the lives of the American citizens as well. Anyway, it is my honor to introduce the keynote addresser. And that would be the former First Lady, current wife of the 43rd President, Laura W. Bush.
Thank you all. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much, George. And welcome everyone here to the Bush Center. I'm happy that you're here today to join us as we celebrate International Women's Day. Thank you to Paul Ludden and Linda. Thank you all for joining us. Paul is the provost at SMU. And a special thanks to our sponsors and our donors who make this Women's Initiative possible. Thank you all very, very much for your generosity. Now that George and I are back home in Dallas, living what I call the afterlife, in a state George calls the Promised Land, we've established at the Bush Presidential Center the Bush Institute, which is a public policy institute that addresses the policy areas that were the most important to us when George was president. And as you might guess, and as you just heard from George, there's an overriding theme of freedom. Freedom from ignorance, our education initiative. Freedom from disease, our global health initiative. Promoting free enterprise as part of our economic initiative. And, of course, and you all represent it, our freedom from tyranny, human freedom, and especially freedom for women to be able to pursue their dreams and have the same rights as men across the world. George has a special program to support the men and women of the United States military, and I'm chairing the Women's Initiative, which obviously Charity is the program director of. We're here today because of the signature initiative of the Women's Initiative. The Bush Institute's Women's Initiative works to give women and girls the skills they need for success through access to education, health care, and economic opportunity. And today, as we celebrate International Women's Day, we're reminded of all the women who've come before us, the ones who've forged the way for us to have increased opportunity. and that will forge the way for many, many women around the world. And of course, on this day, I also think of the women who will come after us, like my granddaughter, Mila. And I'm looking forward to the kind of life that they'll live and the way they'll reach out around the world to their sisters everywhere. A little more than 100 years ago, women marched in the streets of New York and cities in Europe, demanding equal pay, shorter hours, and the right to vote. Today, women in Egypt, Tunisia, Afghanistan, Burma, and many other countries across the world are standing up and speaking out for their rights. In 1911, women in several countries began to mark one day every year as International Women's Day, a day set aside to champion equal opportunity for women worldwide. Today, we live with the benefits of their courage and their determination. Of course, we know that we haven't achieved equal opportunity in the workplace everywhere in the United States and in many other parts of the world. But we've seen dramatic progress. When my mother was born in 1919, the 19th Amendment, giving American women the right to vote, had not been ratified. Today, women in nearly every country have the right to vote. Women play an increasingly important role in the global economy. And from education to healthcare to human freedom, women's roles have been transformed during the last century. We know that when women are educated, their families are healthier and they're often more in school. When women join in their nation's economic and political life, their communities and their countries become more stable and prosperous. The Bush Institute's 3 programs to advance opportunities for women worldwide are the First Ladies Initiative, the Afghan Women's Project, and the program we're highlighting today, the Women's Initiative Fellowship. Our First Ladies Initiative engages and supports the works of First Ladies in many countries from around the world. In July, the Bush Institute, in partnership with ExxonMobil, hosted an African First Ladies Summit in Tanzania. First Lady Michelle Obama and Great Britain's Cherie Blair joined George and me and the African First Ladies to discuss solutions for improving women's access to health care, education, and economic opportunity. The First Ladies learned more about the Bush Institute's Pink Ribbon, Red Ribbon initiative. We launched Pink Ribbon, Red Ribbon by building on the existing AIDS platform that was already established across Africa to expand it to combat breast and cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among women in sub-Saharan Africa, and many young women, 18 and 19 years old, are being diagnosed with cervical cancer. So we're using the platform of PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, that George established across Africa to add services to screen and treat for cervical and breast cancer. Another one of the Bush Institute's Women's Initiative program is the Afghan Women's Project. Afghan women have made hard-won gains in the past decade. Our Afghan Women's Project highlights Afghan women's success and tells their personal stories and supports the most effective programs that serve them. We're documenting the success of Afghan women because we know that their rights remain fragile, especially as our troops are drawn down. We know from research that the full inclusion of women in every part of society makes for a more prosperous and stable world. And we're working through each of these programs to make sure that women are included in every part of the world. It's important to invest in women, and that's what we're doing at the Bush Institute. Today, you can see what our investment is doing for our Women's Initiative Fellows. The Women's Initiative Fellowship is a year-long program that equips and empowers women to become effective leaders in their home countries and gives them the skills to start to build and establish a strong civil society. We began in Egypt and we've had 2 classes of Egyptian fellows. And today we're happy to welcome our first class, 3rd class of fellows, but our first group of women from Tunisia. Our fellows include journalists, lawyers, teachers, political activists, and health professionals. The fellows spend 5 weeks in the United States studying leadership skills here at SMU, and then they travel to visit our country's most important civil institutions. Some of the visits include visits here in Dallas to the Genesis Women's Shelter, the Dallas Women's Foundation, and Mary Kay. The New York Stock Exchange and Kate Spade and ABC are where they visit in New York. And then in Washington, they visit the State Department and Capitol Hill and other of our civil institutions in D.C. And finally, they travel to Silicon Valley, where they go to Google, Cisco, Facebook, and Twitter. When these fellows return to their home countries, the women have each other, and they can introduce each other to their colleagues and their families, thereby expanding their networks in Egypt and now in Tunisia. Each fellow is paired with a prominent American woman in her own profession who will serve as her mentor for the year. They spend the week together here in the United States, and then they stay in regular contact throughout the fellowship year. We have 15 mentors with us here today. Please stand to be recognized. And thank you very much to our mentors. Research shows that a woman's network is one of the best indicators of her success, and the Women's Initiative Fellowship builds on this research. With us today are 14 of the 19 Egyptian women from our 2013 class of fellows. In a minute, you'll get to hear directly from this group of remarkable women. A year ago, only a few of the 19 fellows knew each other. Today, they're a band of sisters, bonded in their experience, and they've become integral to each other's success. They've worked together to advance individual projects and to build new initiatives. They've expanded their businesses. They provided health service to marginalized communities. They've trained women to run for political office. They've written books. They've cascaded their skills to others and developed more women leaders in Egypt. They've rallied runners to the streets in Cairo in an effort to change their culture and bring exercise right to the streets. And they've invested in the next generation by mentoring youth. Can we ask our Egyptian women fellows who are here with us to stand as well? Congratulations, and thank you all. Our first 2 classes of fellows from Egypt are working together now to establish a strong network of women and to help build a more stable and prosperous Egypt. And with our American mentors and everyone here at the Bush Center, you've expanded our whole network, and we're part of it. And thank you all for that. Now I'm happy to introduce our newest Women's Initiative Fellows, 17 Tunisian women who are just beginning their fellowship week. These women will develop a new network of women leaders in Tunisia, and they'll join the network that the Egyptian fellows have already established. As the network grows, so does its power and influence. So can we have our Tunisian women stand now, please? Here's our new class. Two years ago, the world watched with cautious optimism as Arab women stood side by side with men and demanding equal rights and representative governments. Egypt and Tunisia are working to build the civil institutions necessary to advance their democracies, and the work these fellows represent is essential to the future of their countries. Several of the Egyptian fellows have told us how they've had to use all the skills they learned from their fellowship to negotiate for new jobs, to influence leaders in their communities, and to teach other women about their value and worth. They're courageously pioneering the way for women and girls in Egypt, and we're so proud of their achievements. I'm confident that next year the Tunisian fellows will have the same great stories of progress to tell us. I think of the progress my mother has seen in her lifetime, what my daughters have seen in their short lives, and I can't help but wonder what kind of world will my granddaughter know. As we celebrate International Women's Day, we consider the legacy that we will leave our children and our grandchildren. The choices we make, the actions we take, will shape the world that they inherit. And so we must recommit ourselves to addressing the inequities that still affect women. President Bush and I are proud to stand with women and to support them through the Women's Initiative Fellowship at the Bush Institute. And we're so proud of our fellows. Now, you'll get to hear from one of our 2013 fellows and mentors, and then from all of the 2013 fellows about their experiences. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Charity. Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Margaret Spellings, President of the George W. Bush Presidential Center, Charity Wallace, Director of the Women's Initiative at the Bush Institute and Senior Advisor to Mrs. Laura Bush, Hadir Mahar, 2013 Women's Initiative Fellow, and Pam Allen, 2013 Mentor to Hadir Mahar.
Hello, all. It's on. So I have to say, having participated last night, I feel like I've been initiated into a new sorority or something like that. So thank you for welcoming me to the sorority. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Mrs. Bush did a terrific job of laying out the program, and now it's time for a little local color and see how it works in real life. We are joined today by Hadir Mahar, and she's going to tell us about her story in a minute, but she's a social entrepreneur. I want to get all your accomplishments right, and who first traveled outside the country as part of this fellowship and has an amazing story about that. She's done work in India and Nepal, Bangladesh, and you'll talk more about that. Her mentor is Pam Allen, to the far left, and she is a world-renowned educator, an author, an innovator, an entrepreneur. She is a doer of the first order. She founded Lit Life, I love that name, such a good play on words, which is a global literacy initiative serving children in the United States and in more than 60 countries. Why don't you get something to do? And we're going to talk with Hadir and Pam, as well as Charity Wallace, who will lead us off, the beloved Charity Wallace. And if you know anything about this program, okay, Charity, I mean, wow. I mean, you've really gotten them, you know, your press crowd is out in force today. So anyway, Charity is awesome. She essentially birthed the thing, invented this program, went to Mrs. Bush, and it's awesome. You are making a tremendous contribution in your own right, and I'm so thrilled that you're here. So Mrs. Bush, as I said, gave us a wonderful kind of lead up. Give us some color. I mean, tell us about some of the moments you've had with the fellows this year and others, and how it really works in real life. What is the difference that this program is making?
Well, I remember when I was transitioning from being Mrs. Bush's chief of staff to becoming the director of the Women's Initiative here at the Bush Institute, and President and Mrs. Bush sat me down and President Bush said, you know, Laura and I believe that women will lead the freedom and democracy movement in the Middle East. So that's your charge, and get on it. And so that's sort of how the fellowship was established, really thinking about how do we equip and empower women to become effective leaders, giving them the skills that they need to impact their community. And each one of the women that's here today has done that in their unique and special way. And every moment is incredible. From the time that they arrive, I remember them all arriving last year and being very wide-eyed and nervous on this day, thinking about the 2012 fellows and being able to present themselves and all that they had done. And these women said to me this week, I really didn't think that last year when I was sitting here there'd ever be that I could actually do this year. And just to see them grow over the last year, it's incredible because each one of them has a story to tell. And I think one of the things that we've had the opportunity to do that was such an impact is take the mentors with us. Halfway through the year, all of the mentors traveled to the Middle East. And the first year we were in Cairo on September 11th in 2012, which meant that we were tear-gassed while we were there with the mentors. But it was a really interesting juxtaposition between being just 3 blocks away from Tahrir Square with all of the protests and hearing the 2012 fellows talking about what they had done. And then this year we took this class of mentors to Jordan and had all of the Egyptian women come in. And that to me is one of the sort of pivotal moments in the year of the fellowship. The women spend their 5 weeks here in the United States and you can see them grow, but as the year goes by is really when you actually see this amazing growth. And a lot of that has to do with the mentors that are with us.
So tell us a little bit more as a third-party observer here about Hadir and Pam and what you've seen in their growth. And talk a little bit before you do that about how it is that you do this magic making of getting the right combo between the mentee and the mentor.
So all of the women apply for the fellowship, and it's an extensive application process. We do an extensive interview process to choose all of the fellows. And in that, we look for women from 6 different sectors of society. So they represent generally education, health, business, politics, law, and media. And they're women who are rising stars. They're women who have shown leadership ability, but need extra training, if you will, to then go back and really cascade what they've learned to other women to build this ripple effect and this multiplier effect in their country. And when we talked to Hadir, what struck me is that she had such enthusiasm, excitement, and a real vision for what she wanted to do. Hadir was the youngest fellow in the 2013 class, had never been on a plane before she came to Dallas, Texas last year to be part of the fellowship. And she's a social entrepreneur and had just was wide-eyed when she arrived last year with everything that she wanted to learn. Just always had this, spirit of wanting to learn and grow and do more and then take that back to the women of Egypt. And I had met Pam through a couple of our mutual friends, and I knew her passion about education, which is something that she and Hadir share. And so in thinking about when we talked to the fellows, and we did this with the Tunisians, you ask them, who's your ideal fellow? What do you want to achieve? Because each woman creates a personal action plan for the year, so they describe what they want to achieve throughout the year. And in doing that, that's how we identify the right American woman. And sometimes it comes down to the very last minute. There were 2 mentors that joined us immediately after the fellows actually arrived in Dallas, Texas last year. Because as we got to know them a little bit more, I was able to identify exactly who they should be with. And it's been an incredible opportunity to work with the pairs of mentors and fellows, and I think it's one of the most critical components of the fellowship.
Thank you, Charity. So, Hadir, we share a passion for education, and you have such a light in you and your beautiful, beautiful smile and those stunning dimples and all that. You're just so cute. So tell me, what caused you to want to apply for this fellowship? I mean, that's putting yourself out there, for sure.
Well, in Egypt, I was in charge of a project that mainly was focusing on promoting literacy among rural villages in Egypt. So what I did was creating bookshelves in a rural village for children to enhance the reading skills. So, and then I found that it's just amazing that when you just give knowledge to just someone, to give them the access to resources, it's just amazing how they change, how they benefit of that, and they just amaze you. So I was like, okay, I need to enhance my skills. I need to be more professional. I think I want to do a lot, but I think I'm missing some stuff because I got my BA in Chinese studies. So I was like, I need to be, but my passion is for sustainable development in Egypt. So, and I found this amazing program that Lila recommended to me, and I applied. And it was amazing to be connected with Pam, because she's also a very activist in the terms of promoting literacy. And voila.
And so tell us more about your journey. Charity talked about how, day one, nervous, wide-eyed, what the heck have I gotten myself into? Where am I? All of that. And the journey that you had through the year and what you saw in yourself as far as changes along the way.
Great. In just a month, the amount of knowledge that we've been into was great. It was a roller coaster the month. And especially when it came to networking, we were just thrown into networking events, and we barely knew anything about this concept. And here we are talking to top-notch businesswomen and businessmen and talking about our projects and talking about our elevator speech and purpose statement with all passion. So I found myself more confident, more focus-oriented, I had a target that I want to work with. Even this target, if I couldn't make it in a year, I know that this program will benefit me for years ahead. So after that, I got enrolled in a program to work in India. And when I was in India, it was amazing how I reflected all what I've learned in this month in just another 6 months in India, being very professional about the way I dealt with international organizations.
And say a bit more about the work in India. You went from obviously your passion for education and into stemming the horrific tide of sex trafficking in that country and others. Talk about that.
Well, when I was in India, I've enriched my passion for women, especially women who don't have the access or to be the voice of the voiceless. And I worked with the DT Foundation. It was based in Mumbai, and we worked with women survivors of sex trafficking, women from India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. And we were trying to give them, to provide them with economic opportunities, how to be independent once you're out of the shelter, how not to go back to where you've been, and how to be financially stable. And dealing with women, and also I worked with another organization about providing microfinance for women. And what I've learned from the power of women was fantastic, because, for example, I was doing a counterfactual impact assessment. So I had to go to households of women who have taken microloans from the entity I was working with, and then go to another households of women who hadn't been taking microloans. And I had to assess how microloans change these women's lives. So when I knocked on the door of the women who didn't take the microloans, and they didn't just let me in, it was hard for them to let me in. But I found one of the women who already been our beneficiary, and she was like, hold on. And she invited all the women of the neighborhood into her house. And she had to tell me, okay, ask what you want to do. And it was perfect. I mean, if she had this impact in another woman in more than 10 households in her neighborhood, what would she have in her own household? And that made me very, very interested in working with women empowerment and to integrate what I've learned through the month with the support group that I've been taking from the women and from the American women that we've met, powerful American women that we met. It made me realize, well, I wanna work in that.
So you've talked about the effect on yourself, and you've talked about that example of how the cascade, as Charity calls it. Talk about your group. You obviously have met friends, and now you have you called yourself a family last night. And then I want you to talk about what you see for the future of your country in light of this.
Well, I don't know if I can talk about this amazing 18 women, and let alone our WhatsApp group that never stops, but, but our amazing support group. You have no idea how much we support each other. Whenever we share our updates, we share our passion, we work together to try to do something, to collaborate and put our resources together to make something really big. And it's just wonderful, and I can never get enough of them. And I just told Charity yesterday, this just ends on paper. This is never going to end. And to do that, to go back to do that in Egypt, we're trying to do something that cascade our 2013 cohort and 2012 cohort to empower more women of our age to be more powerful. Because we've seen in Egypt, we've seen how powerful women is, especially when it comes to political changes. We've seen them lining up double the men's lines in voting polls. We've seen them how they, in protests and demonstrations. So no, we'll create something big.
That's a direct quote. We will create something big. Okay, I love that. So, Pam, so you have dedicated your life, obviously, to education and literacy, and have had this joyous experience, obviously, of meeting and knowing, and now being a BFF of Hadir's. And so tell us about it from your angle. What have you learned? What have you seen?
Well, I don't even, I'm so full of joy to be here with everybody, and especially with Hadir. I would say just a quick story, and that is that when I went to Jordan with the other mentors and the fellows, at the very last minute, Hadir couldn't get a visa to meet us there. And so I called Charity and I said, do you still want me to come? Because Hadir will not be there. And she said, of course, you'll be with us. So I went, and little did I know that Hadir had already informed her fellow fellows, and they took such good care of me when I was in Jordan. It was like the whole time she said, are you okay, are you okay? And we video Skyped together with Hadir and everybody, and that's such a testimony, I think, to what we, the mentors, gain as well, that relationships are always both interactive, and the power of the stories of each of the fellows, but especially watching Hadir going through her journey and integrating all the learning that she's doing, but also her openness and her reflective stance on the work, even the work that I do, has been so inspirational for me. But I just love the generosity with which they give their love and their friendship, and Hadir was so concerned about me being alone. I mean, that says a lot about this program, that sense of generosity and hopefulness, and that women, we have to be for each other. And I think that's what Mrs. Bush has created in this program, that we are not alone, and no matter what, when we leave each other, I learned about WhatsApp from the girls in Jordan, in Petra. I was like, what is happening here? How are we all in touch with Hadir? And that virtually and actually that we are together as women, no matter what our ages, all different ages, the mentors too, we feel such a bond to each other. And that, I gained that from this initiative. But beyond all, I think this one-to-one and listening to Hadir's story and helping her to tell her story is an honor for me.
As is often the case, you get more than you give. You think you're coming to volunteer, and you're the winner. What advice would you have for you see a class of new mentors out there? What would you tell them about this experience, and how to help and how to grow and how to support, and what you could gain?
Well, I remember Hadir, I want to say just about the networking when you said that, because when Hadir first entered into the program and all the girls, just learning so much from all the programs that Charity and her team put together and then processing them through with us, Hadir said to me, I'm just learning about this networking thing. I don't know how to do it. And I looked at her and I said, Hadir, you are the queen of networking. I mean, everybody could learn from Hadir. So I think one of my biggest, maybe my biggest takeaways, and also what I would share with the new mentors, is not to assume that all the knowledge is going into the fellows, but that they bring so much with them. And maybe we name things differently here, but I think that Hadir came with everything. She came saying, I don't know if I can do this or that, but I think for us to be accompanying the fellows and not trying to mold them or shape them, but as much as to see what's already in them, because they come already with, I mean, she has everything already. It's just, I think what the initiative does is it helps hone those skills and deepen them, and that's something that I think the mentors to know a lot about what the learning is so that we can help the fellows to really integrate it, but also that that take the time to really listen to their stories, and when their action plan changes or needs to be revised, you know what I say to Hadir, that's the truth about life. We're constantly revising the way we tell our stories and the way we write our narrative of who we are. That's what literacy really is, and it's not only okay, but that the mentors should be prepared for that to happen, because the Bush Initiative is going to touch them in such deep and profound ways. It's going to change their stories, and that's not only okay, but it's amazing.
Thank you, Pam. So we're going to play a little speed round. This is a pop quiz that you all don't know about. Okay, favorite moment from class of 2013. Charity, starting with you. You two get a minute to think about it.
Favorite moment. Well, I don't know what my favorite moment is. There's so many favorite moments. One of them was last night, the opportunity when they graduated last night to think about every single woman and to celebrate the incredible things that they've done over this last year. It was emotional last night because we have personally invested in each one of these women, and they're always going to be in my heart. And it is a sisterhood. I never was in a sorority, but now I have an Egyptian sorority, so it's really great.
Hadir.
San Francisco. When we were in San Francisco, this will never stop because we networked, we had fun, we learned. We went to Twitter, Google, and Facebook, and we had a lot of swags. So yeah, San Francisco.
Pam.
Hadir loved that word, swag. Swag. When she came to my office in New York at the Lit World office, she said, "Do you have swag?" And my team said, "Do we have swag?" Yes, we do have swag. We can best them with the swag. I think my favorite moment was to reunite with Hadir yesterday. We've been in touch by GChat, by Facebook chat, by email, by phone, through the news from WhatsApp, through all these wonderful girls, through their energy and spirit, which always kept me in touch with Hadir, but also for us, for all of our GChats and everything that we've been doing with each other all this time. But last night, yesterday afternoon, when I came into the room and I looked to see where you were, and it was as if 1 minute had passed, and yet everything has passed, because I'm so proud of you, and I'm just bursting with pride. And so I think that, to me, that was my favorite moment.
Okay, Pam, you're going to make everybody cry, so we're going to have to shut it on down. Thank you all, and thank you, Mrs. Bush.
I'm dreaming that women can be more empowered, because we can be a more developed country, that we can live the human rights in a normal way. It will be the basic for our lives.
The fellowship is a one-year program designed by Charity Wallace, who's the director of our Women's Initiative, with the purpose of equipping women to become effective leaders so that they can build the skills necessary to help develop civil society. The women chosen for each fellowship class represent the 6 most influential sectors of society: education, health, politics, law, business, and the media.
What I really excited about with the program is of course the experience, the journey itself, and to educate myself in order to support my people in my home country.
Brought 14 to 20 women from one country rather than 2 women from 10 countries. And the reason being they did develop a really strong bond with one another, and then they've been able to cascade what they've learned to other women in their own networks, which creates this ripple and multiplier effect.
Women can initiate any miracle in the world and can make it strong.
It is important to equip them with the knowledge and the skills they need in order to affect the change they want to see in their country.
The most helpful thing to me was going to with my mentor, and they brainstormed with me and they gave me examples how they network and how they fundraise.
And it just hits you that you really have the power to empower people and you really can impact people's lives.
I became more confident about what I want to do, and I believe in about 4 or 5 years I'm going to do something big.
I had the skills that my purpose is more clear to combine this together and to reach my goal. It's like now everything makes sense.
After the fellowship, I just figured how to integrate what I've learned with the SMU and with the Women's Initiative Fellowship into what I've been doing.
How to have my elevator speech, how to make use of time, to introduce myself well, to deliver my message clear. I don't think all American has this experience either. So I think we are lucky.
The examples of leaders that we've been dealing with, that they believed in every single one of us.
When you try to discover yourself and discover your potential, to try to find your dream, follow it, you will do whatever you want. And when you believe yourself, when you trust yourself, no one can stop you.
How much support you're getting going into this program from not only the fellows themselves, but from the organization. This was not a normal fellowship. This is a family that takes you in. These are people who are investing in you.
I am so impressed with the Women's Initiative at the Bush Institute for the fact that it's taking advantage of the ripple effect of investing in women across the world and allowing a network to be built that's a very powerful agent of social change.
I had to call my dad because he's really interested in stock market. I told him, Dad, I'm now in the New York Stock Exchange.
We have showed you today that is inspiring to you as women entrepreneurs, not only to reinvest in your community, but to reinvest in other women.
I'm a huge believer that if you give people the opportunity to be successful, they will. If companies can be role models and countries can be role models, there's nothing you can't achieve.
Each one of us had almost something very, very small and like a little dream. But every time we saw someone or we went to a meeting or reception, each and everyone kept telling us that they believe in what we're doing, and those little dreams turned out to be great achievements at the end of the year.
I feel so obliged now to give back to the Egyptian females. So now I'm even mentoring many young female entrepreneurs in Egypt.
I dream that to have powerful women because they nurture lots of generations. So think we are the most important part in Egypt.
It's not just trying to say a message of hope, but it's to be a message of hope. Believe that they could go for more than what they believed they could, and they did.
So you all got to see a little bit of the journey that we took over the last year, which has been a huge joy and wonderful experience for all of us that have been involved. We're just so pleased that you're here to celebrate International Women's Day with us and to particularly celebrate the Women's Initiative Fellows that are here with us today. I'm pleased to welcome to the stage the 2013 class of the Women's Initiative Fellows. Ladies, you have done amazing things. Over the next several minutes, I'll have the opportunity to ask them a couple questions about their journey, and so that you can hear a little bit more about what each one of these women has done. So I'm going to start with three of you right now. So the question is, all of you have made amazing progress and have wonderful success stories over this last year. And so I'm going to ask a couple of you to briefly tell me one specific thing that you've done, and we're going to start with Esra. So Esra, will you please let us know sort of what you've done over this last year?
Okay. It was very challenging this last year. My passion is in fashion and arts, creativity, and the worst thing that how to make this passion into a profit. So after the program, it's important. You know?
It is important. That's right.
When I get back to home after the program, so I thought that I should make something important and something real to start my own business. So I have a store in Egypt, and I was working in that, but I thought it's not important, but it's not the biggest thing that I have dreamed. So I thought that one time I have to take the decision and take one big action. After a while, I was going to Turkey just to have fun with my friend, and after a while, I thought that this is a great place to manufacturing and producing garments. So I thought maybe this is the this is the time to take the action. So I told my friend that, are you going home tomorrow? We are going to home. So, okay, go, I will stay. And I decided to start my own business in this country. It was really hard to face a new society, a new language, new culture, and new people. But I thought that if I just follow up my dream and try to ask people how to help me, or try to figure out where the manufacturing will help me in making my collection and expire it and separate it at the board. So I get the step one by one, and now briefly, I'm doing a good business in Turkey. I start manufacturing my own collection in Turkey, and I export it to Egypt. So I have a small number of clients in Egypt and in Turkey also. And now I'm trying to make my own office in Turkey and try to make a connection between Turkey and Egypt through my collection. So I guess this is not the end of this story, but this is the beginning. I know this is a lot of challenging I will face, but I know it will be not hard, because hard time was gone. Now I will start to make the good things. Thank you.
Thank you, Esra. Congratulations. Namat, same question for you. What's the one success that you've experienced this year?
My field is the healthcare, and I always dreamt of drawing a smile on the faces of the underprivileged people in my country. So I've always had a dream to open my own NGO, but I couldn't open, so I twisted a little bit and worked under an already established one to serve this underprivileged people. And I initiated and implemented a department in this NGO. It's called Cure Bank. to the mobile convoys, medical convoys, and we go to the remote areas where we serve the underprivileged people and screen them, we examine them for every single thing. My first convoy was in December, and I did 3 after that. But the first one was very rewarding and very motivating to start this way to screen people. We screened about 590 children in school levels for their eye examinations. And we found that 200 of them need surgical operations, ranged from corneal transplantation to cataract, to glaucoma, to some other problems. And 175 were served with the eyeglasses, and this was a very immediate rewarding when you see the smile of the student, that he can read easily and he can see. So this motivated me to initiate and screen all the, I will do steps to go to the remote areas to screen all the students from all diseases, starting from diabetes to cardiac diseases to eye examination, of course, and all I can. So this program really motivated me to start this thing. It was a dream, and I achieved it. And this is my story.
Thank you. So, Rula, we know that you are a physician and you're working as well. Will you tell us a little bit about sort of your success story over this last year?
1 year ago, when I first arrived to the United States, I was so nervous, and I would never imagine myself sitting here on stage in front of these people. So the normal reaction for me was to hide in a corner, try to be as invisible as possible. So I think I got a lot of confidence this year, and I think it changed me personally. Last year, one of the things that I always dreamt of was to pursue an academic career. So I finished my master's, and I'm starting PhD in Cairo University. I was also selected by Physicians for Human Rights to carry trainings in Jordan and in other places to train doctors, Syrian doctors working with Syrian refugees about sexual violence. And I usually carried trainings about the professional management of the sexual violence, but it was my first training about the concept of sexual violence and the myths about it. It struck me that a lot of people would think that it's a women's fault. And I was first time able to speak about many things that affected me as a girl in the Middle East and challenge the cultural concept. And many of the girls after the training, they came to me and said, "We are so happy you spoke about this because we could never talk about it in public." It was for me very rewarding. Another thing that I continued throughout the year, I continued my work in international humanitarian organization, Doctors Without Borders. We were able to launch a new project for rehabilitation of torture victims, for people who are exposed to human trafficking and sexual violence. It's very rewarding to me that sometimes I receive women, men, and children when they first come from detention center with burns, bruises, bleeding, and they feel like their lives has been ruined and they want to live anymore. But then after many consultations and follow-ups, they come smiling, and it strikes me how resilient they are, and they give me hope. I feel I make a difference, even if one person. So that's it.
Thank you, Rula. One of the professors here today, Dr. Jay Carson, is here, and one of the stories that he tells of the fellows is that we're like the story of the starfish, where the starfish come onto shore, and there's thousands and thousands of starfish, and there's a little boy who comes and throws the starfish back into the ocean, and a man comes and says, "What difference are you making? You know, there's so many, you could never get all of these starfish back in." And he picked up a starfish and threw it back in and said, "I made a difference for that one." And that has impacted each one of these women, the idea that they're making a difference one person at a time. And so, Rula, that's sort of what you're telling, and thank you so much for the work that you're doing in Egypt. So Arwa and Caroline are going to have the question of what's the most important thing that you've learned or the most significant part of the fellowship. So Arwa, we'll start with you.
Well, I think the most important thing for me is the networking part, which summarized actually or concluded most of the sessions that we have attended during the program here in Dallas for a month. Networking actually summarizes all the communications skills that we should have all to connect with people purposefully and be goal-oriented in your work. So I tried as much as I can to apply these things when I went back to Egypt. I had chance to go on mission through the United Nations to Turin Center in Italy and also to Senegal. There were many people attended this meeting, VIPs people. So I started to plan a strategy before I went to those meetings, and I scanned who's coming to the meeting. I pointed who are my targets and who are the people that I want to speak with, and what are the messages that I want to deliver. So that was really very successful exercise. I went there with the plan, and I have my checklist, and I pointed the people, I went to them, spoke to them directly, and get actually the things that we planned in the office, and then just go around and see where's my other target. So that was really very good for me, because in these two meetings, I went out and I had 2 or 3 agreements and some achievements that you wanted to deliver. So that was really very effective part for me.
Good. Thank you so much, Arwa.
Actually, this is very hard question because the whole program was a lifetime experience and we all learned a lot. Personally, the most effective part was the mentorship. Kim was really supportive and she always motivated me in a personal and professional level. So thank you, Kim. And also the in-country training. We had in-country training every 2 months. That was amazing. It's like it took us from the routine and put us in the right track every time. Again, it's like energy, give us energy and the inspiration and motivation all over again. So the whole program was just amazing, and we are lucky to be here and to be all together. Thank you.
Amazing things. Thank you, Kelly. So, Madiz, how has the Institute's fellowship changed you and how you think of yourself as a leader? How has it changed you?
One of the most important things, I've always used to have a lot of thoughts and dreams in my mind, but I've never actually did something about them, or I never put them on paper and taken action about them. Here I've learned how to put those thoughts and dreams on paper and how to put them in points and how to work on them, and it's transforming. Like I can say today, I've been transformed from a dreamer to an achiever.
That's amazing. Reem, you have the same question.
Well, when I first came to the program, I was not confident, and I never thought I'd learn so much in such a short time. But little did I know, I found myself a year later within the group of my friends and colleagues, teaching them networking techniques, teaching them how to build a team and how to work on their passion. And they were so amazed by the concept of networking as well. And they didn't know anything about it. They were surprised and then because they could do and work on their passion. And after I helped them, I had this great feeling that I was able to convey the knowledge to other women and other friends because they needed this push and this encouragement, just like I did last year. And this was very fulfilling and very rewarding for me.
Perfect. Thank you, Reem. So, Dina, why do you think that the fellowship is important for Egyptian women?
First of all, thank you so much, Charity, for this opportunity. Same goes to Mrs. Bush. I think it's really important to think of the country's transition. There are so many things happening, and there's such an evolution that's taking place that, and you see this across the board in the Middle East, that women's rights tend to, the rights of women tend to fall lowest on the spectrum of importance or support being given. And so when programs like this come into the picture, you get this flood of support that's going through, and it really does dissipate, and it really does tend to cascade itself. And you see this with all these women. Each and every one of these women have given something. They've supported each other at the very least, and if not more, within their entire community. So programs like these, I think, are essential to the continuation of our entire country and culture, because Namat always says this, women really are the backbone of our society. They have an effect, and we always talk about this, they have an effect on each and every sector. They have an effect on their kids, they have an effect on the people that they support in their community, and we're a very close-knit community. Whenever one person goes through something, you see the community come together and support, and if somebody's going through something good, you'll see that support gain from it, that support system gain as well. So thank you for this program. This is great.
Thank you, Dina. Thank you. So I'm going to go back to Vivian. So Vivian, you were chosen to speak as a TEDx Women's Cairo speaker. So can you tell us a little bit, just briefly, about what you told the audience and how it ties into your work at Charisma Arts?
Well, actually, I do feel blessed to be among the women today in this fellowship and this initiative. The program really enhanced my skills, and I feel really blessed about it, so I want to thank you in the beginning. With Charisma Arts, it started like 15 years ago by being the first Egyptian female to make an e-commerce site to export the Egyptian handicrafts. By then, all I had in mind was just to help females sustain an income and get their own financial freedom through selling their own handicrafts. But with the revolution and with the economic crisis we were having in Egypt, and being a social entrepreneur and an artist as well, I was thinking, how can I use arts to help my community in different kind of ways? And being a social entrepreneur, I had to be flexible enough to address the needs, whatever they are. So actually, I did change my action plan several times, and Charity had a hard time with me with my action plan, because whenever there was a need in society, I want to change my action plan again. And
true.
I know I don't have crazy, but at the same, I needed to do something about it. I couldn't just stop it. So I started just 4 new programs this year. The first one was about, I wanted so much to give back to my community through all the learning I've been taught. So inside my very small office, I had one room, which I started in it, Charisma Cafe, where I can start giving the female small leaders and the female entrepreneurs kind of small sessions of what we have been taught. And then I just invited my own networks of other females who would like to give a session for free for the ladies. And we started a ladies' Charisma Cafe every week or every couple of weeks. The other program was with the problems that was happening in Egypt and in Upper Egypt, with the curfew and with the bad news we had every day hearing about, with the burning of churches and burning of homes and the homeless families. I felt I need to do something again. So we were just sitting there at home on Facebook, doing nothing but just sitting on Facebook, everybody of us. And then I just started something, how about we just rebuild Egypt again? So I called my friends on Facebook, and let's start an initiative about rebuilding Egypt. Whoever can do something, let's share what we can do. If you have a couple of t-shirts, donate one. If you have some extra food at your home, donate some. And we made a new project called the Love Truck. The Love Truck is about offering our practical love to the families in need in Upper Egypt. So the first Love Truck was during the curfew, actually. And as soon as the curfew was over, we started sending the Love Trucks once a month And I had 15,000 people on Facebook coming in 1 month to the Facebook page. And that was amazing. And it was even published in some Egyptian newspapers and in some magazines.
That's great.
And I felt like overwhelmed, and the laugh track is still going on every month.
That's so great. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
So Shaimet, you are working with children in Egypt right now. You've gotten 2 major grants with Save the Children and another UN organization. So can you tell us a little bit about why you think it's important to work with children and how you're doing that?
Hello, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank you, Charity, and thank you all the organizers and Mrs. Bush for sure. And my lovely mentor, my mom, my second mom, Dr. Hindel Jarrah, because she was a very supporter and she always be with me. Okay, I would like to say a little bit about my NGO called Man Ahyaha. Man Ahyaha is NGO working in slum areas in Egypt. We're trying to develop children through education and women through income improvement projects, small projects. So we're trying to, we believe in something in our NGO that education is not a gift, it's a right. So our role to let this right available for every children and everyone, especially who lives in these slum areas we working in. So we're trying to find another way and another method by designing some new curriculum for them to let them enroll again in the schools and love the school again. We used a lot of methods, as I just said, like art. Now we have theaters for the children. They are expressed themselves through it in the street, in their area, actually. And a lot of curriculums designed for how to modify their behaviors through a lot of activities and so on. Now we have, on the past 3 years, we have 150 children went through our education program. This was from 3 to 5 years old, and another 150 from 8 to 12 years old. Now we are planning to have a library, our library, and we were thinking about to let the children who were from beginning of the program who built it by themselves, by their efforts, because you feel the ownership and the commitment to it.
Right. That's so great. Thank you, Shaimet. And Jean, you're empowering women and men and young women through the trainings that you're doing. Can you describe that for us a little bit?
Yeah, I believe that every woman or man, everybody, needs someone to believe in him and has a unique role to do in this life. So through the media and through the conscious raising programs that I do there, we try to convey the message of hope, to say or to let them recognize that they are valuable, they are precious, they are unique, they have talents and special gifts that they only can do, and they will add a lot to this world if they make use of it. So we do. I did a lot of trainings the last year, in spite of all the challenges we had. So it was 7 trainings. We trained 256 men and women and girls, young girls. They open up when they break out in groups, men and women and girls. And men are crying more than women when they discuss or share their needs according to what they heard in the sessions. So it was like life-saving to them or transformational life experience to each one of them. So which makes them and helps them to find, to be empowered, to do what they dreamt of doing.
That's so great.
And they can shape their bright future ahead of them.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jean. And our very last question goes to our last three fellows. There's actually a question from the audience from Ellen McDonald, who says, how easy has it been to network with each other when you've gotten back to Egypt, and how do you do that? So why don't we talk a little bit about the February in country? So I'll pitch it to Midal, and then Hadir, and then Sandy, you'll have the last word.
The inter-country training was the idea that we cascade what we've learned to people in Egypt. So we arranged this training in February, and we invited around 100 people. And when we went in the morning and we saw a big hall with so many empty chairs, we got terrified. And we asked ourselves, what did we do to ourselves? And, but the day went very smooth. People were extremely happy, and we had different sessions of the things we've learned here in the USA. And it was amazing that it was, to us, a moment of realization that we suddenly stopped and thought we have a lot to offer, and we have a lot to inspire and motivate. And actually, I think we didn't thought we had that, or we can do it in that impactful way. A lot of people were inspired to the extent they started thinking of their dreams and their passions, and we're sorry because they decided to resign from their jobs. So, but I think that it's better because they're on the right track, and we were very happy to do that.
Hadir.
I think the February session was a very good example of what we've learned and how it was just this very minimal example how we can do that for other women of our age. So we chose some topics that we knew that would be very well received via Egyptian women. So when we chose networking, we chose elevator speech, purpose statement, and action plan. And by every presentation of the other, everyone was like, aha, and that's how we can do it. So everyone was coming to us, can we do that again? Can we have this resources, how to approach that, how to approach this? And in terms of networking especially, it was just a very new concept for everyone. So when everyone was coming, oh really, can we do that? Especially, you know, because some Egyptian women is like they have this fear syndrome, and how to break this to approach whether talking about career change or whether talking about launching their startups or social enterprises. So it was great.
That's great. Thank you, Hadir. And the final word goes to Sandy. Sandy, I've heard from everyone that was at the February in-country training the impact that Sandy had on the women who attended. And they said that people left crying from Sandy's sessions, which is a good thing. But even last night, you know, you just gave a beautiful graduation speech. So we're leaving the last word to you. And then.
Well, I think I'm so happy to see this picture on stage because this describes best what has been in the February session. Actually, I was very impacted by Lynette Lewis, who coached us last year in the sessions about having a purpose statement.
Will you trade microphones?
Okay, I was so impacted last year by Lynette Lewis, who coached us about having a purpose statement. And it's like I found my voice when she gave the session. I was like, yes, this is what I want to speak about for the rest of my life. So this is her book in the picture. So I didn't know I was able to stand and actually give a session without shaking or something. And I was very grateful for my fellows because they nominated me to give this session. And I had read in Lynette's book that you owe it to yourself to work on your speaking skills and go out of your comfort zone, because at some point this is what's going to make you stand out among the crowd. So I said, okay, I'll take the chance and, you know, step outside my comfort zone. So I was really amazed that by two things actually in this in-country session. The amazing diversity that we have. We are all very different as a class, and yet we spent long hours preparing for the in-country session, and just our ability to be able to work together and complete each other with the different ideas that we have. It was a very rewarding part of the in-country February session. And the other thing was when we were in the in-country session and we invited young professionals from our networks, we split into groups, and then each one of the fellows coached the group that she had, how to write an elevator speech, how to have a purpose, to write their purpose statement. And we didn't know we would be so good at coaching the people, and you know. And we were really surprised. Like, we found the words to say, and we helped the people write them down, and everyone was like asking us, when are we doing this again? Can we talk to you after the session? Can we have like extra time to work on it? And we were like, yeah, sure. We never knew. And really, it's, I really think it's the fruit of having so many people believe in us, because when they first told us you're arranging everything about this session, we were terrified. We were like, really, you're not sending anyone to help? And they were right. Like, they believed in us, and it happened because of them. And my mentor believed in me so much all along the year. Adair Margot was phenomenal. She would always encourage me when things were so depressing in Egypt the last year, and she'd always find a way to help me work around the situation and work with what I have on my hands, and we are really very grateful.
Thank you so much. So you can see what an amazing group of women this is. There are 3 fellows that aren't with us today, but they're doing amazing work back in Egypt. And so we're so proud of all of these women and all that you've accomplished. You're really cascading what you've learned to other women, creating that ripple effect in Egypt, and are impacting people's lives every day. And so we're proud of you, and we congratulate you for your great work. So now, before we end, I get to show a video introducing our 2014 class of Tunisian fellows. We're excited to expand the network beyond the 2012 and 2013 classes from Egypt to Tunisia. And so let's watch this video, and then I'll come back with some administrative announcements.
My name is Naila Sharshur. Actually, I am retired, and I'm giving all my time to my country for the sake of my daughter and my little young daughter.
I'm Supreme Ben Ali. I'm 24 years old. I heard about the program, and I thought it was an amazing opportunity.
I was with the Watchdog organization in Tunisia, working on the Tunisian constitution recently approved.
As I lived for a long time under dictatorship don't give anyone the willing to be ambitious, not for oneself, not for one country. So this is something I want to learn to do, give people strength and willing and ambition to improve their lives.
I would have to say that Tunisia is one of the few Arab countries where the legislation towards women is at its best. It's comparable to French legislation, Italian, just all developed countries. But still, we are missing a few things. There's still things to do, which I hope I'm going to be able to work on back home with my government.
We are living this transitional period toward democracy in Tunisia. So I believe that this is dependent, the success of this period is dependent on youth engagement and citizens' engagement as a whole.
My dream is to promote intercultural, interreligious, and interracial, also gender dialogue, and to build bridges between Tunisia and the world.
In a country like Tunisia with very scarce resources, investing in education and investing in people is very important.
I will participate in the democratic process by being an example for women and girls in my country, and to show how education and continuing higher education is very important and very beneficial for women and girls in my country.
We want to improve things, and we want to fight poverty and unemployment, because I think these are pathways to terrorism, to corruption.
I had an idea of creating a business so that a lot of engineers and students just like me, fresh graduate, can make meaningful contribution to the economic development of my country.
My role is as an actor in organization of the civil society. I wish that I could be a trainer, an expert, helping organization and project management and mobilizing resources. So I wish that I can touch all association and organization in all Tunisia.
I will help other women to get their own
business and to be financially independent and to get back their self-esteem and fight for their rights.
After 4 years of work in the engineering field in Tunisia, I've recognized that I need to get deeper insight into management and business skills. So I believe the fellowship program would help me.
I think the program is giving me a huge opportunity to empower my skills, my leadership skills, and to make the difference. I need to create the change in my home country. I have to be inspired and to inspire.
I see women that are able to make the difference, and I see that in the future we will achieve gender equality.
A democratic country where everybody has the right to go to school, everybody go to high school, more women in the government, and why not presidency?
So your journey is about to begin this week, and we're excited to have you here. I hope that today you're as inspired by these women as I have been over this last year and over the last many years that I've had this opportunity to work with them. The opportunity has been of personally investing in the fellows has been one of the most rewarding of my life. And I want to thank President and Mrs. Bush for giving me the opportunity to develop programs that really build leaders all over the world that are transforming their countries. It's because of you all that we have that opportunity. So thank you for your leadership and for your vision. As we leave today, I would encourage all of you, as you go out, there's a bazaar that 5 of the fellows are selling some of their products from Egypt, so please take an opportunity to visit with them and to network with them. And then for those of you who are coming to the luncheon, if you go out the doors and to your left, you can check in, and luncheon will begin at 12. So thank you so much for the support that you've given, for the support that you've given to these women to make this program possible. We really appreciate it. Thank you.